What about bricks and mortar, do you think? Because the footfall has gone from 70 to 80% in central London. What will happen?
That's a very interesting question. And actually, this debate uh, was actually a debate that was being had pre-COVID. And in many ways, what coronavirus has done is accelerated a lot of the conversations that were happening before this crisis hit. So the concept of bricks and mortar and whether people would be visiting the high street, whether people would take the time, those are conversations that we're getting answers in terms of yes, there will always be that human connection needed, but stores will have to rethink their purpose. They're no longer about transactions. You can do that on the internet. They're more about the human experience, the storytelling that you can get from the fashion assistants, and the idea that a visit to a store has to be a destination. So both the designer sector and the high street will have to adapt to this new reality and be even more creative, which is something that I trust the British fashion industry to do. Creativity, innovation, resilience has always been one of the hallmarks of this industry. And now's the time to really show that.
Are you worried, though, about the death of the high street, Stephanie?
I think the high street has to adapt. And this has been, again, a conversation that has been had for a very long time. So I think there is a role for the high street. Absolutely. We need a fashion industry at all price points. But the consumer is also voting with their feet. They're asking for differentiation and they're asking for experiences. And they're also increasingly asking for better quality and less. There's a whole sustainability angle to this. And if the high street can understand that you can create product at a good price point, but with sustainability in mind, that will be the solution to get the consumer back and really get them on side again.
Talking of sustainability, that remains a huge problem within the fashion industry. Are you disappointed more hasn't been done?
I think a lot has been done and a lot has been done in the background. But we have to face up to the facts that the fashion industry is a large contributor to carbon emissions, that there's a lot of aspects intrinsically built into the fashion industry that we need to address. Everything from overproduction to waste to the supply chain, to the transportation. So all of these aspects need to be addressed. A lot has been done, but I do think that crisis like we've had is forcing the topic even faster and further. And the BFC, I'm very proud to say, pre my time, my predecessor and through the CEO Caroline Rush has championed sustainability through its positive fashion. And it was always something the BFC championed. It is actually at the core of what we do now through the Institute of Positive Fashion, to provide this platform for the industry to share information, collaborate, and really start to use best practice.
And of course, diversity is a key focus at this time. How inclusive and diverse do you feel London Fashion Week really is?
I think London Fashion Week actually is. It really represents the vibrant mix of our capital, and has always been a fashion week that has come at the crossroads of art and music and fashion and design, and has really been very diverse. But the reality is that it's not just about London Fashion Week. We have to think about the fashion industry as a whole, and we have to think about not only branding and editorial, but who is sitting at the table, who are making the decisions, who is on the leadership board. And that is where we really have to put this at the top of the agenda. And it starts with us at the British Fashion Council. We've made some changes to our non-executive board. We've appointed 4 fantastic board members, including June Sarpong, who you know from the BBC, Jamie Gill, who's the CEO of Roxanda, Scott Morrison, who has his own agency, and Sean Westerman. So we've really rounded out our board with incredible skill sets. And we're thinking about our mentorship programs, our access programs, and then at the very start of the talent pipeline with our Saturday clubs, which we have run for many years, which is to give children from ethnic minority backgrounds look into the fashion industry and give them the idea that this is an industry that is open to them as well. So all of those efforts have to be a focus, and we're doing a lot, and there's still a lot to do.
Why do you think this wasn't done earlier? Why do you think it took the death of George Floyd, all the anti-racism protests, to actually focus on diversity within the fashion industry?
I think, as I mentioned, that a lot had been done, but you're right, putting it at the top of the agenda sadly often takes a big moment that galvanizes the attention, because it takes many stakeholders. There's not one decision maker clearly in the fashion industry, and it takes individual businesses rallying together to complete the whole. The analogy is very similar to the business model, and it took COVID for brands to rethink their business models. And it is very sad that it's taken a number of tragedies and an increased movement to pay attention. But that is, for me, positive, because we can now look to the future and really build upon that.